What's up, War Rapport family? It's your guy, Ike Jones, hosting tonight, sitting in for C-Dub, and we are at the bye week, and we're going to take a look back and grade how we feel like we've done thus far during the season in this edition of the Midweek Report. Ike Jones, Mike G, B Will in here. C-Dub has the evening off. We are here at the Midweek Report, brought to you by our show sponsor, auburnsports.com. For all of your news and notes regarding all Auburn sports, make sure you head over to our folks at auburnsports.com. Especially during this off week, there's a lot of news floating around. Want to get into some recruiting stuff. Our guy Caleb was on with us earlier this week. You guys can go check him out. In the video that we talked about that earlier on the on the morning drop. But before we get into the conversation, make sure you guys are doing the necessary. That is sharing the video at the War Report on all social media. Hashtag get your weight up. Like the video for us. Give us that good thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're out there and you haven't done that already. Let's get into some announcements real quick. Mike G, can you tell the people a little something about what they need to be doing if they haven't already?
Yeah, if you haven't already, become a patron. These are like micro sponsorships. You guys see the big sponsors. You can become a micro sponsor of the War Report by becoming a patron member. If you have not seen, we are putting out lots of great patron content. The film reviews amongst the most prominent. So if you want to watch that content, you got to become a patron. Our game day experience does involve some patron-only perks. $5.99 a month, guys. Sign up for that. You can also give the gift of the War Report by gifting a membership. Hit that gifted membership button. YouTube chooses these at random. So if you interact with our channel at a high level, but you haven't made the decision to become a patron, you might be on the receiving end of one of these. So check that email and watch out for these gifted memberships. Our community has been doing a great job giving these away. We're giving away a mug. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments. This is brought to you by War Eagle Oil. Hashtag get your weight up. Make sure you spell that right. Get that in the comments. We're going to draw at the 1 hour mark. Also, guys, listen, I want to thank show sponsor Manscaped. This show is brought to you in part by Manscaped, who has taken a step up from Halloween to bring you your face the cleanest shave it's ever seen. So this season, no need to toil and trouble. Manscaped's all-new Handyman is the best way to get rid of that stubble, featuring a compact design and next-gen skin-safe technology. The Handyman was designed to give you that smooth finish without the mess of traditional shave. Get the sweetest treat this Halloween by going to manscaped.com and using code RAPPORT for 20% off plus shipping. Manscaped, guys. I have the Handyman shaver, and I'm telling you, it's fire. I carry it around in my bag with me just in case I need to get cleaned up for a photo shoot, or, I don't know if I have random photo shoots going on, but it's a pretty good shaver.
That's all I'm about to ask you. You just photo shooting?
Yeah,
just in case somebody wants to do a selfie real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Handyman.
Yeah. I actually just got my Handyman as well. I'm not really gonna be going no clean shave, of course. My wife.
That's the neckline, though.
Yeah, but I got to clean the neck up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sure. Get a little area up in here, clean up the edges, all that. We're gonna be making it happen, baby. Anyway, let's get into the conversation tonight, fellas. We're gonna start as always with picks, and we got to take a look back at the picks from last week. You know what I'm saying? C-Dub's not here tonight, but everybody did pretty well.
Hold on, what was 5-1? What did you get that we didn't get?
I'm the only person who picked Kentucky to win last week.
Oh, that's right, garbage Kentucky.
Yeah.
They got their low one for the season. They done.
But we all picked LSU to win, and they did not do that.
So they embarrassed everybody, including themselves.
Yeah. So This is where we stand thus far during the season with our picks for this week. We will get into the rest of the SEC picks, though. And I don't have Caesar's picks for tonight, so he's going to get a goose egg for everything this week. Doesn't matter what he wants to pick. We'll start with the one nobody really cares about, and that is Western Michigan taking on Mississippi State at Mississippi State. Yeah, they're playing their homecoming, I think, this week. Western Michigan at Mississippi State, favored by 20.5. 56.5 over under. I'm guessing, is anybody going to take Mississippi State to lose this game?
No, I'm not.
No.
All right.
No, we'll go with the Coach Cowbell.
All right. Let's see what other game is interesting. Vanderbilt versus Florida, not too interesting a game right there. What you guys thinking about that?
I thought Florida let me down last week. I think I picked that was my other loss.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the other one that y'all all picked Florida. I picked Kentucky, so you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Florida's gonna win. Vandy is not the team it was last year.
Yeah, they are not. They are pronounless. So yes.
I don't even know what that means, but okay.
They have no pronouns. They don't exist, man. Like they're not good. They're not good.
Let's see. Other somewhat interesting games. I guess you could say this is interesting. Arkansas is going to travel to Ole Miss.
This is an interesting game.
Yeah, this is an interesting game to me too.
We're going to get into some interesting matchups here.
Yeah. So the Jackson Dart versus KJ Jefferson show. And what do I like here? Well, Ole Miss has proven they can put up a bunch of points. Arkansas has looked competitive all season. This one's in the Grove. Man, I have a hard time picking against Ole Miss here. They're putting up 517 yards a game right now.
They are definitely putting up a ton of yards, a lot of points this season.
Yeah, 336 through the air, 180 on the ground. They are allowing 408 yards per game. I got to go Ole Miss here. Yeah, I think I got to go with Ole Miss.
B. Will, what you thinking?
Are you a Jackson Dart truther?
No,
I'm
not. I'm not. He is a. They're overrated. It's a little bit smoke and mirrors. Just because LSU's defense is really bad doesn't mean Ole Miss is good, and that's a confusing thing for a lot of football fans right now. Is that LSU is worse than everybody thought, which explains why Florida State skunked them and then promptly went on to struggle against Boston College and a bad Clemson team. So, but does Arkansas have enough to take advantage? So that's the question.
Can T. Will and his Arkansas defense shut down Ole Miss on the road?
I think this game is going to be very close, similar to what we saw with LSU and Ole Miss. But I think Ole Miss at home probably makes a difference. I think that's the difference. Ole Miss wins because it's at home.
Okay, I'm actually going to go Ole Miss in this one as well for the same reason, because it's at home. If we're on the road, I think I might lean towards Arkansas in this one. But
I would definitely take the points they're giving for Arkansas though to cover, because come on, yeah, Ole Miss can't stop nobody.
All right. We'll take the next one here. That is a battle of a ranked versus unranked, though, as I do find this to be an interesting game. Bama on the road at Texas A&M, only favored by 2 points on the road at Texas A&M. Is Jimbo going to be able to do it again? Backup QB. Bama's defense been up and down this season. The offense able to go out there and run the ball fairly well for the majority of the season so far.
There's a lot of Bama hate right now. I'm sorry, A&M hate right now on social media. Like, we're seeing videos of their Yale practices. It's weird. They got some other weird traditions. I think that's going to make this a weird game. Month of October. Is this? I think I saw someplace where this would, if they lose this game, this would be the second season since Saban has been there that they had 2 losses before the end of the month of October or something like that.
Sounds about right. Probably the first year in this one.
Yeah. So History is made, baby. Bama goes down. I'm going with A&M.
Oh, right.
Go.
Mike picking A&M.
No conviction.
I'm picking A&M too.
Oh, B
No.
Will picking A&M.
Yeah.
I am picking Bama in this game because I don't think Texas A&M is going to be able to stop the run enough.
Okay. All right.
It's fair.
I don't really have a ton of conviction in that pick. I'm just let y'all know. Right?
Yeah.
This should be a really good game.
Yeah,
I
think
think a competitive game.
Their defense is legit.
Whose defense?
A&M's defense.
Bama's defense is legit. I think Bama's is a little better.
I think Texas A&M's defense is decent. They have a decent front. I stand by what I said our week of Texas A&M. Just because they beat us, I don't think that Texas A&M's defense is great. I think they're good this year. I think that we ran the ball fairly well on them, and I think that Bama is a little bit more committed to running the balls, particularly with their running quarterback, than we are.
Sure.
The difference, I think, for Texas A&M versus us is Jalen Milroe's shown the proficiency to be able to throw the ball down the field. I think he's like, I saw a stat recently that he's either like top 5, something like that, in completion percentages for
past a certain point.
Yeah, past like 20 yards, something like that.
Okay.
So he's doing really well at throwing the ball down the field. If they can establish the run like they have been recently, he's good at hitting the open receivers downfield. I think that Texas A&M, the way that they played us defensively, they're going to try to crowd the line of scrimmage and bring that extra rusher in there to go against that mesh point stuff. If Jalen Milroe can hit a couple of those, he's going to bust Texas A&M.
Yeah, up. I mean, look, that would kind of be strength on strength. They've got the second best pass defense in the league. They're only allowing 7.6 yards through the air per game so far this season. I mean, they're not allowing a ton of points either. I think this should be a good, by all the numbers, this should be a good game.
The line says that they think it's going to be a good game. I think the line is probably right on this. I think that Bama will cover this line, though. I think they win by more than a field goal, but it should be.
Yeah, for sure. If they win.
If they win, I say you're not picking them, but yeah. All right. So next game here that I find particularly interesting, we will go with defending champs versus Kentucky.
Oh, Georgia gonna mop them up.
B Will emphatically picking Georgia.
I really don't believe in Kentucky. I'm surprised they got the win they did last week. It's not that Florida is a great team. It's just that Kentucky is equally, they're kind of Florida's mirror team in my head. So I'm surprised that they beat them that emphatically. However, Kentucky, you can't like find points against Georgia. You usually have to really earn it. And
Kentucky wasn't lucky last week to get points. They just ran the ball down Florida's throat.
They did, but what I mean is, okay, do I think one running back is going to run for 200-something yards against Georgia?
No.
Nah, buddy. Nah. It ain't happening this week. I picked Georgia to win. Now, I'm not saying it can't be close because I think a good game plan can probably stifle Georgia's offense for just long enough to make it a close game, but I just don't see I don't see anybody in this conference this year beating Georgia at Georgia.
Okay. Despite the fact that we ran the ball so well against Georgia and Kentucky's a good run
and that's
team.
exactly why I think it won't happen in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that logic.
UAB ran the ball fairly well against them. I mean, it was in spots, but it was they did okay.
Yeah,
the difference between those two things, though, and I'm actually picking Georgia as well. I'm trying to convince somebody to swing over Kentucky, but I'm picking Georgia as well. The difference in those is I think the threat of the running quarterback is what helps to neutralize some of what Georgia does defensively. Devin Leary is not a running quarterback, and that's why I don't think that Kentucky's going to have the same level of success against the Georgia rush defense that Auburn was, that UAB did. I don't think it's going to happen for him in this game, so I am picking Georgia in this game as well. And it's at home. I just don't see it happening. They're going to have to prove it to me if they do it, but I don't see it.
Yeah. Man, it's so crazy. Like, this is a down year kind of in the SEC at the, and this is one of the most beatable Georgia teams I've seen
in the last couple of years, for sure.
Yeah, last few years, right? So, everything in me, I think Kentucky will cover.
I could see that.
I
Listen,
can see
Kentucky. Here's the
covering on
thing:
this one.
Kentucky's defense is real. I don't think that
Mhm.
people are giving enough credit. What's the boy's name? Stoops. Mark Stoops. Mark Stoops is always going to put a good defense out there on the field. I think this year they have a legitimate defense, and Georgia still, even in our game, has not gotten off to good starts in these games. Kentucky with ball control, and if Devin Leary doesn't turn the ball over, I can see them making this a muddy game. I still think Georgia wins, but I can see Kentucky covering in this one. I could see that.
I can see that too.
Yeah. I think they covered, but Georgia
All right.
continues.
Only one more game left on the slate this coming week, and that is LSU versus Missouri. I find this to be the most interesting game of the week by far in the SEC. LSU favored by 6 points at Missouri. Missouri now the number 21 ranked team in the country. Undefeated so far this season, welcomes in LSU, looking to bounce back from an absolutely thrilling game against Ole Miss last week, in which they gave up every single yard imaginable in every single way. What are we feeling about this game?
You got it. I don't know how you don't like what Brady Cook is doing so far this year.
I have not watched enough Missouri to know whether or not I like what Brady Cook is doing so far this year. By the numbers, he looks good.
Yeah, listen, man, he's playing ball. Right now, he's like the 13th best passer in the country. Cook has 11 touchdowns and not a single interception so far this season. He's throwing the ball. He's completing passes at 74% clip. His adjusted is something crazy. I like Missouri. I had a sneaking suspicion. I can't remember which show it was we did, but it was preseason. I had a sneaking suspicion that Missouri was going to play some weird role in how the East plays out this year. I know it sounded crazy at the time. They're sitting here 5-0. Their offense looks good, and they returned a defense that was pretty good. So I'm gonna go with Missouri here because. I have a hard time picking against LSU. They burn me every single time. And I pick them every single time. But this time I'm going with Missouri. I'm sticking with my preseason prediction that Missouri would mess some things up. And, this puts LSU at 3-3. I want you guys to understand, when everybody jumped on the Brian Kelly train because he won the West in year one and blah, 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 I said it is more likely that they will move backwards from where they finished 2022 and 2023 than it is that they will take a step forward and contend for the conference. It's like that, man. Sustained success is hard, particularly in our conference, and they're learning that. Everybody's got dudes, man. This is the SEC. This is in Notre Dame, where you get to pick some weak punk bees to play every single week. It's not what we're doing here. And the SEC. I was trying to save the monetization, Brian.
No, I'm getting over a cold, but I mean, it was partially the laugh, partially the phlegm in my throat. But yeah, please continue.
Okay. But yeah, I like Missouri in this one. I think this is their year. Every few years, they have a year where they come out of nowhere and do something. Right?
I don't know about every few years. They did it the first 2 years in the conference, and then maybe every once or twice a decade, maybe.
Right. They made the SEC championship game twice?
Twice. The first 2 years in the SEC, and then
that's two more than Texas A&M, baby. So
you are correct about that. And Ole Miss.
Yeah, I'm going with Missouri in this one. They take down the Tigers. They're reeling by the time Auburn gets to Death Valley, and then we just sink their hopes, and they go to -500 on the year.
But Will, you're picking the upset in this one.
Their defense is bad,
which is crazy. This is an upset according to the numbers, but not by the rankings. But
correct, right. Yeah. Like before you pick me, they got the worst rush defense in the conference, and they got the 10th worst pass defense in the conference, and they have the 13th ranked scoring defense in the SEC right now.
LSU's defense might be the most disappointing thing for me this season because I was a believer in Mason Smith and what he was going to be doing up front. I liked what they had and all of their defensive front. They always have good defensive backs. Their linebacker play has always been dynamic. They have been so bad on defense. Like Arkansas was throwing the ball all over these boys. Ole Miss got whatever they wanted that entire game. They got embarrassed by Florida State in the first game of this season. LSU has not been able to stop anybody this year, and that has probably been the most surprising development. I don't know if I'm more surprised by a lack of Auburn's pass game under Coach Hugh Freeze or a lack of defense by LSU this year. I don't know which of those things surprises me more. But I am definitely shocked by LSU being so bad on defense. So bad on defense.
I wish they had told us before the year started they were going to be bad on defense so it could have saved that Florida State pick. Had confidence in them coming into this year. Thought they was going to be decent.
These are facts. These are facts.
I'm picking LSU, though.
Okay.
I don't believe in Missouri. Missouri smoke and mirrors.
It does not believe in Missouri.
No. So let me hold on. I was looking at Missouri's schedule, right? South Dakota.
They did not play anybody the first 3 games of the season.
South Dakota, Middle Tennessee. So they played K-State, who won the Big 12 last year.
Yeah, they were like 15, I think, when they played them.
Right.
Beat them by a field goal at the buzzer.
At the buzzer. So I think I don't know if K-State's good or not. So I can't really put a lot.
They're a solid squad.
Missouri could be a solid squad. It was basically a pick'em game, and Missouri won it at home, which is not like this a bad win. You win your games. Hey, I'd love to when somebody coming to see us at home. So, but then they beat Memphis and Vanderbilt. They've basically played the equivalent of one Power 5 team so far this year, and it was a coin flip. LSU is going to be the most talented team they played so far, and I get it. LSU is not good on defense this year. Offensively, they can still put up points. I don't know what the level of pass defense is collectively between all these teams that Mizzou has been playing. I have no confidence, though. They're kind of in the boat with Kentucky having an offense. Like, okay, you may have beat Florida by scoring these points and running the ball, but do I think you're going to do this every week? No, I don't believe it. Or South Carolina going to play somebody good. They got all the hype. Oh, they got these players and this talent, and then they get on the field, and then they get around the field. I think LSU is going to win.
Okay.
I just got that feeling because everybody's hyping Mizzou and everybody's really down on it. You people usually overreact when there's like a really big result that's surprising. Like the Dolphins put up 70 on somebody and everybody was dumbfounded that they only put up 20 points the next week. It's like, hey man, it's a matchup game. Next week is not last week. It's a different thing. I think Missouri can make this. I think this will be a very competitive game, but I think LSU wins it. I think LSU is now. They look more fluid offensively than they did last year. Like last year, they looked like they were trying to figure it out. Now they look like a machine, but their defense left. Which I mean,
what's Missouri's pass defense look like so far this season?
Let's see.
What are they giving up?
Stats: passing yards, 241.4 a game, which is good for 190th in the nation. But that's counting FCS and FBS schools. The way this app works. So I'm not sure how that ranks with other. Like we give up what? Less than 200 a game, Auburn does. I wish I knew what ours was to compare, but yeah, they I don't know. I don't know if they're good or not. I have no idea if Missouri is good or not. I know LSU is good at one thing, scoring points. So
I'm actually going to take LSU in this game as well. I just think that LSU, I don't have any confidence that LSU is going to ever stop Missouri from being able to score just because I haven't seen them do it with anybody else. But I believe Jaden Daniels is doing he is seeing the field differently this year than I think he had. And he's putting the placement of those passes this season has been immaculate. He's got an outstanding core of receivers down there with him. I think that LSU is going to go out here and bomb away on them, and they're going to win a shootout. This time they're going to win the shootout against Missouri at Missouri. I'm going to pick LSU in this one.
And if they don't win the shootout, listen, I really want them to muster all of their fortitude to win this game.
This should be like a 4 overtime game.
Yeah, like
You know
that's what I need to happen.
Yeah.
I need them to just exhaust themselves, winning this
Yeah.
game on the road, come home battered and bruised with us lying in wait, having rested for a week. That's what I want to happen. But
I'd love to
we'll
see that.
Best of luck to LSU this weekend, not next weekend.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels is the second leading passer in yards in all of college football right now. Yeah, it's crazy. He's got 16 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. He's having, I mean, I know he's not on anybody's Heisman list, but he's kind of having a Heisman campaign right now.
If LSU had won against Florida State, I think more people would be talking about Jaden Daniels than they are right now. I think the problem, I mean, it's not even that he played a bad game. It's just that we know the Heisman voters are looking at teams that have really good records and
best
LSU's
player on the best team.
Yeah,
right.
LSU's record hasn't justified that. Caleb Williams is still getting Heisman hype, but I don't think USC is one of the best teams in the country right now.
He's third right now. I'm sorry. Shador Sanders is in front of him. I forgot about Shador. But I mean, he's definitely the best in conference right now. And you know, I don't know, man. I like it's 73% completion percentage. He's having a really, really good season.
That's what I said. He's seeing it differently this year than I've ever. Like, I watched him at Arizona State before he got there, and I thought he was good then. Last year, I didn't think he was particularly good. I think he was just kind of mediocre. This year, Jaden Daniels he's got command of that offense.
Yeah, they're not losing games because of him, right? So
they're losing games because they can't stop anybody. Their defense is terrible.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, my front runner for the Heisman is definitely Michael Penix. He was dynamite last year. This year, I mean, he's on track for like 4,600 yards passing and 40 touchdowns or something crazy. But when you stack him up versus Daniels, he's having a really good season versus much better talent. If the averages hold,
right.
So we'll see how the averages hold. But I just want to stress, man, he's doing very well against like top tier talent. Penix is throwing 7-on-7 drills up in the pack.
Yeah. All right. That is it for our picks from the week. Definitely want to hear you all's thoughts down in the comments section. We are going to pause for the calls and pay a couple of bills, but we will be right back with the midweek report after this quick break. This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. When you work out, grill out, and chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at GoldensCastIron.com. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. For all of your motor oil and related products, head over to WarEagleOil.com.
Guys, become a patron member. This is the best way to support the work that we're doing here at the War Report. If you like the firesides, if you like the film reviews, if you like the things that we're doing that nobody else is doing, become a patron member. Help us continue that work. You can also help us by giving the gift of the War Report to somebody who has not done it yet by hitting that gifted membership button. YouTube will choose these at random. We appreciate everybody in our community that does this. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments to enter the drawing for our mug. Make sure you spell that right. This is brought to you by War Eagle Oil. They're sponsoring all the giveaways that we do here at the War Report. We appreciate them for that. Want to also shout out the War Report Podcast Network, Uptempo, College Loop, Just a Sec, and of course the Auburn Express, bringing you lots of great content and audio-only format every single day. We are dropping something new at the War Report on the War Report Podcast Network. So find these podcasts on whatever you listen to podcasts on. They're everywhere. And subscribe and download. Help us continue to bring you more of that content. Last but not least, this show is brought to you in part by Manscaped, who has taken a step up from Halloween to bring you your face the cleanest shave it's ever seen. So this season, no need to toil and trouble. Manscaped is all new handyman. Is the best way to get rid of that stubble Featuring a compact design and next-gen skin-safe technology, the Handyman was designed to give you that smooth finish without the mess of traditional shave. Get the sweetest treat this Halloween by going to manscaped.com and use code Rapport for 20% off free shipping. Maybe spooky season, but you don't want to scare people with a scraggly beard. Visit Manscaped. Get yourself a Handyman. I love my Handyman, dude. It's amazing. It's great shit. It's great. It's the best I've had in terms of like cleaning up all this under here.
Indeed. Handyman shaver from Manscaped. Make sure you guys hit them up. All right. Bye week, so we don't have an Auburn game to talk about. So what we're going to do is take a retrospective look at the season and talk about where we feel like the Auburn Tigers are right now so far in the season. Quick update. Coach Hugh Freeze did the Wednesday presser with the SEC, and he talked about some injury updates. The unfortunate news is, and I have a super chat here about this, so we'll talk about it here with Cleveland Brown saying the injury bug got us down bad right now. Hopefully we can keep what we got healthy on the back end of the season. Still sucks to lose Nasili Kite. So if you guys have not heard, Mosiah Nasili Kite, torn bicep, out for the remainder of the season. Austin Keys still a couple of weeks away from coming back from his broken finger, I think he had in his hand, or broken bone in his hand. So he is not yet poised to return. Damari Austin was reported as potentially going to be available for the LSU game, but he's still tentative right now. Jalen Simpson also dealing with a lower leg injury, a calf injury that he sustained during the Georgia game, and he's listed as probable right now for the LSU game. My thoughts are that Jalen will likely play, though, because he played the remainder of that game, but we'll see what happens with him as the week progresses. But and then Keontae Scott still on the mend, but doing what he can do to get back healthy, but we don't expect to see him back for another couple of weeks. Any thoughts on the injury stuff happening right now with Auburn? But definitely hate to see Nasili Kite go down. I think he had been a really solid contributor along the defensive front for us. And that defensive line rotation is just going to have to figure out how to get more stout. Play some other guys. Zeke Walker going to have an opportunity. Who do you guys feel like needs to step up in the absence of Nasili Kite?
Yo, I mean, really, it matters on who the coaches think, because I mean, we got a lot of guys really at defensive line, that younger guys who could play. I mean, we're 4 or 5 more guys deep in that room that could get snaps, that probably want snaps and need snaps. So, and EJ Sledge was still here, and he was glad to be here, glad to stay here, and was looking forward to this season. So, hey, I want him to get some snaps. Now, I don't know how many snaps he's gotten so far. That's the thing. I don't have those defensive snaps for our guys to see who has even gotten on the field. But my first guess would be somebody who's gotten on the field in limited work and now stands to have their role expanded. But I mean, I don't know who is going to be first up for that opportunity, though. But we got dudes. And now will they get a shot?
Mike G, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Defensive line was thought to be possibly a liability coming into the season. The pass rush still has left a lot to be desired. And we heard a lot of things about Nasili Kite, going into the season, about how well he was playing. So him going down out for season with a bicep tear, interesting. Is disappointing news. Now, we knew Auburn was good at the one deep. Beyond that, we also knew that depth would be an issue. So I'm kind of with B, man, when you're looking at this, when you're going down this roster, trying to figure out, okay, who's the next guy up here? I'm not sure we have the answer to that question. This is something that I want to talk to them about in the presser next week in the lead up to LSU. Who do they expect to step up here and fill in for him on the D line? A lot of these guys have been playing well. Marcus Harris has been playing well. We know Justin Rogers is out there. Who is the next guy up on this line? I'm not sure that Auburn has an answer to that right now. So Coach Jeremy Garrett's got some work to do, man, to make sure they can fill somebody in there that can do the job. But I just don't know that we have the answer to that question right now.
Yeah. I mean, I know Lawrence Jackson is another guy that probably will get some more snaps
That's
now.
right.
The transfer from Purdue.
Purdue.
You mentioned
Lawrence
Aniche
Johnson.
Sledge. Yeah.
Mhm.
Did I say Jackson? I meant Johnson. Sorry. You mentioned Aniche Sledge, Zacchaeus Walker, somebody that I mentioned earlier. Keldrick Falk definitely will have some more opportunities now to play at defensive end. He's been getting a lot of snaps there right now, so he will probably get more production there. So yeah. Got to figure out that rotation and figure out how to get more guys in there. I think what might end up happening is you see Jason Jones kick out to play more of the D tackle spot, and then they'll be rotating in Johnson and what's my guy's name, Justin Rogers more at the nose. But we'll see. We will see how it goes. But definitely sorry to see that young man lose the last year, I think, of eligibility that he has to an injury. So, hopefully he can get a speedy recovery and make it back to time to get to some sort of camps for, the draft and such. All right. Everybody's favorite time. We got a quick challenge from our guy, Jazzy.
Yeah. Welcome to another Jazzy Challenge.
For those of you unfamiliar, our guy Jazzy Joe out here gives challenges from time to time about where he is. Where in the world is Jazzy Diego? Currently saying location challenge for $100.50 for the state that borders. Where is Jazzy Joe right
I don't know. He's doing a really crappy job about giving us clues on Twitter.
Yeah. What gives?
Yeah. We need to know where we're at on social media all the time. Oh, his girl's TikTok. She'd be spilling the beans all the time.
Any guesses from UB Will while Mike does his investigation?
I'm gonna pick something central that's touching a lot of stuff to make sure we get, what I'm saying. So I'm gonna say Kentucky. Kentucky touches at least 4 states, so I'm gonna say Kentucky.
Okay, so look, I don't know, guys. I'm looking at this now. His girl drew us a nice little map of everything they're doing there. Everything it wants to say Arizona. They're in Arizona.
They stay in doing stuff through Arizona.
It's Arizona or Utah. It's Arizona or Utah.
All right.
Somewhere in the Mountain West.
I am going to say that they are in Nevada.
Nevada?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I like that. Right
Jazzy,
next to me. Stick together.
Jazzy, where are you guys? Let us know in the comment section if we came close. All right. Let's talk about grades for the season thus far. Let's start with the defense, because I think the defense is the easiest one to get out of the way. Actually, you know what? No, let's start with special teams, because the special teams is going to be the shortest conversation. Start with the special teams. No field goals have been missed so far this season.
Right.
Oscar Chapman has been punting the living stuffing out of the football so far. He's saved us on a couple of occasions so far with field position.
Right.
The kick return game has been decent, aided by Brian Batty and his ability to return. Keontae Scott was doing well until he got hurt, then a few muffed punts by some folks in one particular game. And since then, we really haven't had any punt returns. The kick coverage has been up and down, right? We've had a lot of short kicks recently that have been returned for some decent field position. Punt coverage has been okay, not great. What are you thinking on your grade for special teams so far?
Listen, Chapman makes this a B+ for me. Right. And listen, Keontae Scott, because Keontae Scott was still out there fielding punts, this would be an A. This would absolutely be an A. Batty is a threat every time on kickoff to take it to the house.
Agreed.
100%. He has shown why he was a leader in all-purpose yards last season. in all the NCAA. Now he's running the ball like a monster. If Damari's out, I expect him to continue that. But on special teams, I think this has to be special teams has not been a liability. Has McPherson missed a kick this year?
Has not.
He has not missed the kick this year. He's not been called on much, but some of those have been some pretty long field goals. I gotta eat crow on McPherson. I was not a McPherson truther. I said it loudly and proudly. I was just loud and wrong on McPherson. Yo, he's going out and he's nailing kicks from 40 plus. I don't think you can ask any more from your kicker, other than him to make more of them, so that Auburn can get some offensive points on the board. I like special teams, man. I think special teams has been the only thing they're missing really is like a blocked field goal or blocked punt or something this season.
And we've been close a couple of times, but
yeah, that's the only thing they're missing. This is a B plus, man. I think it's a B plus. If they had scored a touchdown, I would give this an A. But special teams has absolutely been right where you want. Not talking about them often.
Yeah.
Right? Like unless they're scoring touchdowns. The blocking kicks, you don't want to be talking about special teams for the most part,
right?
And we're not. So B plus.
I'm gonna say A-, just because.
Oh, you went A.
They've held us down. No major errors, and the only major error was muff punts that didn't cost us the game, and that's because we didn't have the right guy back there due to injury. It wasn't necessarily special teams units giving up the ghost. It was isolated. And then when we put somebody else back there to return punts, we didn't have any, or the next game, once they got to practice it, it was fine. So some really big punt returns or maybe some kickoff touchdowns or some touchdowns either way in the special teams would be A++. But when you're holding it down, kicking the field goals, getting this good field position, that's your job, and they're doing it. So I say A-.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Mike on this and say B+. I'm not going to ignore the muffed punts that happened, even though they weren't the standard field returners doing that. It still happened. Though he saved it, the one snap sailing way over the punter's head in the Texas A&M game wasn't good. But that could have been disastrous in that game. So I'll go B+ on it. I think it's been very solid. And if we had done some more positive things to negate those negatives that I just talked about, I could get into the A category. I'll go B+ though. Very solid for our kick coverage team. I wish we would stop kicking the ball short of the end zone though. I don't understand why we're doing that. And I want it to stop immediately. All right. Let's move over to now the defensive side of the football. And Auburn's defense has performed admirably. First year under defensive coordinator Ron Roberts. We've got Jalen Simpson, I think currently by PFF, the highest rated defensive back in the country. He is, 4 interceptions on the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, Kaufman, who's out there causing havoc every time he touches the field. Really the entire defensive secondary. DJ James should have 2 interceptions on the year. He let one slip through his fingers in week 1. We forced turnovers on defense at a good rate this season. How are we feeling about the defense? Haven't been particularly great on third downs, particularly third and long in the Power 5 contest so far this season, but we've been stingy, haven't given up a ton of points. What's the high point total that anybody's put up so far on us?
27.
Texas A&M 27.
Yeah. It's not been a lot. I mean, they're averaging 18 points allowed per game. That was inflated a little bit by Georgia and Texas A&M. But ultimately, this defense has been pretty good. I still think, honestly, through 5 games, they've actually played at a championship level. I think this defense has played at a championship level through 5 games. They've consistently put their team in positions to win in the fourth quarter of every single game, right? Like they just have not been a liability. I know Ron Roberts got a lot of flack for the defense on Bowers at the end of the game. It's been a trending social media topic. How could you not bracket Bowers? Like, listen, man, at the end of the day, Bowers is that dude, man. He's just,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes there's just no defense for a great player. He's going out there. He's making one-handed catches. He's reaching behind himself to catch balls that most people wouldn't catch. What was the one throw that Beck made where it was behind him.
Yeah.
And he reached back and he caught that ball, and he made it look routine. And people get mad when Auburn receivers don't make catches like that. But I'm telling you, that's not a catch. That's not an everyday catch for any kind of receiver. Just not. These things are hard. The good players make those plays look routine. And one guy, going off at the end of the game does not negate the entire body of work that this defense has done. And once you factor in turnovers, they've been damn near elite. They're forcing 2-3 turnovers a game, man. That's going to keep you in it.
How many turnovers have we forced this season? That's actually a good question.
It's been like 2 or 3 games. I'm telling you, they've been elite forcing turnovers.
Yeah, we've been really good.
You open up the half against Georgia, bam, turnover. And then what? Score. If you're going to beat a team like Georgia, you have to force turnovers. There were some almost turnovers there, too, that were close, but not quite. You got Jalen Simpson. It might be the best DB all of college football right now. He's certainly the highest graded through 5 weeks per Pro Football Focus. They are producing. I mean, the defense is an A for me. Let me get to my grade. The defense is an A. The defense is an A because they are doing exactly what you need them to do to keep you in games. You're not going to score points. You're not going to win games, but ultimately the defense is keeping teams at a reasonable level where you should be within reach offensively. Every single game, they're creating parity, turnovers. They are wreaking havoc. Everybody was like, oh, what about the run defense? A lot of us included. We just didn't know. Yeah. They've been pretty good. The only knock that I really give them is pass rush.
Yes.
Outside of pass, it would be an A++, man, if the pass rush was popping. So they're not perfect, but I think that Ron Roberts' scheme has done for the defense what we thought Hugh Freeze's scheme would do for the offense. He has consistently put guys in position to make plays, and they have. Not sure you can ask for much more in year one. Now, if you start talking about all this recruiting everybody's talking about, and you start to get dudes in, when you get to start at square 3 instead of square 1 with some of these guys, with these 5-star athletes, they're going to be nasty. And Auburn is going to have to drop a whole bag to keep Ron Roberts in the fold. He's doing a great job. A for the defense.
B for the defense. The pass rush has been wanting. We've had to blitz a couple of times in the Georgia game specifically where we sent a blitz and that blitz got because we had to send a 5th guy to try to get the quarterback. And that's what failed us. We need 4 guys to get pressure. And so far, we really can't do that. Tackling left a little bit to be desired. This last game, it wasn't nearly as bad, but Texas A&M.
Oh, no, this last game was bad.
It was bad. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't rewatch. I didn't remember it being particularly bad.
I'm thinking about particular plays, specifically the last one where Brock Bowers just people were just not really even trying to tackle that young man. Like it was mostly Brock Bowers. So let me not say it was bad the whole game. It was mostly the times when Brock Bowers had the ball where the tackling was bad.
Yeah, negative.
Yeah. I'm not negative. I'm being honest.
Y'all negative.
What? Did you see them attempt to tackle him? And
it's y'all negative. Wait till we get to the offense. I'll be like, I'm joking.
We have been, what we've done is on offense, we haven't turned the ball over in our last 2 contests like the way we did last season, right? Like last season, we were terrible turning the ball over. This season, the defense is playing very well. But if I'm thinking an A to A+ defense, what am I thinking about? I'm thinking 2019, where you don't even think about it. Whatever you want to try, don't think about it. And if we want to get fancy and send some pressure, then we're really going to stifle what you do. Then we're going to take the ball away from you. We are a very sound defense. I think the experience in that defensive backfield allows them to send people from different places to change their responsibility on a play. And it's just amazing what you can do with that much experience back there. And that's not something that I think necessarily gets better if everybody in that backfield is a freshman or a sophomore 5-star. It's like, yeah, but these guys have been through it already. They played this game. We've got some very good tacklers in the defensive backfield. We've also got one or two that, I don't think it's a coincidence that this year teams have come into this and kind of schemed DJ James alone to handle the running back coming out of the backfield. Like, they watch their tape. That's something I don't think we give enough teams credit for. If I want to get my guy on your worst tackling guy, let me get my strong running back on your smallest defensive back. That's a win. That's scheming. That's good coaching. And unfortunately, DJ James is, he hasn't necessarily been up to the challenge once or twice on that one. But that's what would make us an A+ defense. If we tackle better and if we rushing, got after the passer. 2019, we didn't even need 4 to get after the passer. We just needed 3. DB and 2 dudes. DB drug Big Cat Bryant into the conversation as being part of a good defense. That boy had no business, even on that defensive line with DB. But he was there. He got to see some real good defensive line work. I can't believe that he did all that with Big Cat Bryant on the line. Holy crap. That man had a busted tire, was still going 90 miles an hour down the highway. DB, man. And still doing the NFL, too. But yeah, B+. I'm sorry. Got off topic. B+.
Yeah, I'm going B+ as well. I think the defense has been better than average this year. But if we had a better pass rush with 4, if we had just one guy that could, like, I thought that Jalen McLeod was going to come in there and be an unblockable force off of the edge, and he has just not been that guy. And I thought we were going to have double-digit sack guys on this team this year, and we're not trending in that direction at all. And the linebacker play has been up and down, particularly in coverage. Again, third down defense has not been great. The tackling for DJ James, already outlined, has not been phenomenal. It's been less than stellar for him in particular. And then, some of our coverage busts that we've had on the back end. I think the lack of depth is showing in that defensive secondary in some spots, particularly in that star and safety group, where we're just not as proficient with guys that go down in that group. And that's caused some of the stuff to look a little bit worse, particularly late Texas A&M game and then late Georgia without some of the guys that we would have had in there. So B+, still really good, but could use some improvement. Hopefully when they get back from this break, we get some guys healthy. We'll see them start to ratchet it up a little bit. I think the defense is trending in the right direction, though, as far as guys getting snaps that have not traditionally gotten snaps or weren't going to start, and they're starting to kind of figure it out. And I think that Ron Roberts can start to put more on their plate defensively, and we can be a little bit more exotic with our defense. So I'm looking forward to the trajectory that the defense is going to take as we continue this season. But for right now, like I said, B+. Defensive secondary, Jalen Simpson, again, stellar. Eugene Asante has been a revelation for this team. Larry Nixon has been really great for this team. I hate the fact that Austin Keys is not there to give us a little bit more depth in that linebacker room, because that I think that we're hurting there because of that. I can't say enough about how I think Kayan Lee has actually performed really well as the freshman corner out there in the absence of Nehemiah Pritchett early in the season. Zion Puckett's been up and down, but he's a guy I think he gets a little bit too much. He's kind of the quarterback of the defense. He gets a lot of blame in scenarios where I don't think he deserves it. And I don't think he gets all the credit, though, sometimes when he does do the thing that he's supposed to do. All the guys when we had the fireside said Zion Puckett's probably the smartest guy back there in the defensive backfield. He knows where people are supposed to be. He's lined up properly and gets everybody else in the right place. He's a valuable asset to that defense. We're missing Keontae Scott, though, right now in that star room.
We are, which is crazy, because think about how good we've been without him. Like, that's I want to see, what would we have been like? Could we have defense our way into a win at Texas A&M or Georgia with a Keontae Scott on the field?
I think we possibly could have. I think we possibly could have with a just because, again, the way that defense is set up. think about Texas A&M in particular. Donovan Kaufman was hurt for portions of that game, and when he went out, that defense suffered a little bit, right? He was up and down throughout that game with injuries.
Yeah.
If Keontae Scott was there, you just have another guy that you put in to be able to be in that spot. The star position is so crucial to this defense as far as getting people aligned and kind of understanding what needs to happen in different alignments, that I think that the absence of Keontae Scott has been big for this defense. So, yeah, I think that it would we could have potentially, defensively done a little bit better in Texas A&M. I don't know if we win that game, but I think potentially against Georgia, you have more bodies to throw at a guy like Brock Bowers, and you don't have, tired Puckett and Kaufman trying to go against him at the end of that game. You've got an additional body that you could throw at him. Maybe you're in a different position in that game. Again, I don't know if we win those games, but I do think it changes a lot of things.
I'm with you.
Who would you put as your MVP right now for the defense?
That's Jalen Simpson.
Yeah, I think it's pretty.
Jalen Simpson. Yeah, man. The turnovers, the timely interceptions, right? Like, he's going in there and just fighting for the ball, man. Like that interception versus Georgia was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, like I had no sense how good an interception that was from the booth. When I went back and looked at the broadcast, it was incredible. Incredible pick. So it's got to be Jalen Simpson for me.
All right. Yeah, I would pick Simp as well. Who is your I didn't see this coming, but this guy really has been paying dividends. Most improved is not the right one. Biggest surprise on defense so far this season?
I mean, it's kind of hard to not say Asante, because we didn't even know if he was going to be on the team this year, because he didn't even get on the field for us last year. So all these questions about linebacker. Tolan ends up not being with the team after fall camp. Keys ends up injured as soon as the season starts. We got Larry Nixon in here. We knew he was a tackling machine at North Texas, but we didn't know what to expect. And it's Eugene Asante, a guy that had been on campus for a full year, who got into the mix and instantly showed a tenacity and speed that we didn't think we had at the position. So, yeah, I mean, he's probably the reason why the run defense hasn't been a liability. Nixon as well, but I think Asante and Nixon really are a good tag team in the middle forwards. But I'm going to say Asante.
Okay. What about you, Mike?
I agree with B on this one. Asante.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to say he came out of nowhere. I want to give some mentions to guys like Marcus Harris, who I think has played stellar in on that defensive front, and then a guy like DK, who is just, good Lord, man, he's been all over the place. But I think of a guy who at the beginning of the season nobody would have said, oh man, he's one of our more valuable defensive players. Eugene Asante has probably played himself onto draft boards.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I think that he has been probably the biggest surprise of the season so far for the defense. All right. This one is going to be one that you're going to be reluctant to answer, but I want you to answer anyway. Who has been the biggest disappointment so far on defense?
Man. They all Auburn Tigers, man. I read my Auburn Tigers. I don't want to say nothing like that, man.
No, you're not disappointed in anybody's play so far this season on defense? It doesn't mean that they're bad. It's just they haven't performed up to what you thought they were going to do so far this year.
I say disappointment suggests that I had certain expectations and we didn't meet them.
Yes.
No,
has not met expectations.
Because there's nobody. I expected a big year from Marcus Harris. I'm getting it. I expected a big year from. I expected Simpson to play well. I didn't see him playing this well, but I expected him to play well. Expecting nothing from Asante. We're getting a lot. I didn't think we had like dominant, unstoppable players on the defensive line outside of Marcus Harris. So it's not like a surprise, like, oh, well, they're not playing as good. Like, no, they're doing okay. So, I don't know. It's tough. Who is a disappointment?
While you're thinking about that, Mike, do you have any names, or you don't have any guys who have underperformed expectations so far this season? on defense.
On defense?
Yeah.
It feels like we haven't been hearing Justin Rogers' name a ton.
We have not heard his name a ton. That's true.
Yeah, and so maybe Justin Rogers. It's tough because the expectations were high on defense outside of the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of those guys have overperformed in my book.
I'm gonna say a name and it's gonna shock everybody, and you can be mad at me for saying it. DJ James has been disappointing for me so far.
That's
season.
fair, though. That's fair. I mean, I think that's fair.
He in coverage, he's been pretty good. Like, he hasn't been bad in coverage, but that young man's tackling has been.
The tackling has not been good. Yeah,
it's been bad. It's been bad. Like, his open field tackling has been bad, and that to me is disappointing for a guy that's played as much football as he has this season. I mean, this in his career. And I get it. He's undersized, right? But I remember, what was his name? Steven Roberts, that was out there on the outside for us back in the day.
Opelika's finest. That's right.
Super undersized and barely ever missed tackles. DJ James has got to do better for me in the tackling department. And, again, great cover guy. I don't want to take anything away from his covers. And this isn't to say that he's played bad this season.
Right.
So just because I say he's underperformed my expectations doesn't mean he's played bad. But him missing those open field tackles has been disappointing for me. I'm gonna go DJ James.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and you've been pretty consistent on that, though. Like, you've been consistently talking about his tackling all season, right? Yeah. So,
and that's the problem. I've had to mention it often.
Yeah. And so, I can agree with that. I on D-line, though, yeah, man, I'll stick with Justin Rogers. DJ James is a good one. It doesn't mean that he's terrible.
Right. Again, I'm not saying
somebody's going to go to Twitter and be like, I said DJ James is the worst DB to ever be born.
Yeah, of course.
It's going to be, but yeah, it's just, for somebody who was an all SEC selection, right? I think he was like third team all SEC. Maybe
Correct.
He got right.
And I felt like that was disrespectful to him to start the season.
I did
third
too.
Team all SEC.
I did. He's looking pretty third teamish right now from a tackling standpoint. So yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
All right. Well, we are going to get over into our drawing before we get to everybody's favorite unit, which is the offense. Today,
come on, man.
We are giving away a mug sponsored by War Eagle Oil. Let me get to this drawing. So, I'm doing a drawing, so nobody, 46 people, y'all just sad. Wow. I don't care.
Is Lisa in here? Win, Lisa.
Somebody's got to win it today. Sponsored by War Eagle Oil. Eugenia Ikari. Ikara.
That's some anime stuff you got.
Akira. Eugenia Akira. If you're still here, let us know. A couple of comments here before we get over. Jazzy says that he was in Wyoming. You should have stuck with Utah. Mike.
You know what? I think it was literally a pin on that map in Wyoming. I just didn't know it should still be there. But yeah. Okay.
Super chat here, or excuse me, a chat from Darkwing who says, do you think Keldrick Falks should step up on D line? And again, this is the absence of Nasili Kite there.
He had been getting plenty of burn, so I don't think Kite was going to necessarily. He was taking Falk snaps. I think they're just being good about rotating guys. So, my thought is that Keldrick Falk will still see just as much game time as he had been seeing. He'll have just as much opportunity to continue to develop.
I agree. I think he will get more snaps, though, now that Kite is down. James Barnett with a chat in here says, fellas, why are we not kicking the ball out of the back of the end zone? I don't know the answer to that.
Wait, I think, is it McPherson on kickoff?
Yes.
So he's kicking off. Okay.
The first couple of games, almost all the kicks went into the end zone. The Georgia game, for whatever reason, we kicked the vast majority of them like a yard or two short of the end zone. And then like all of a sudden at the end of the game, he boots one 6 yards deep. I was like, what are we doing, bro? I don't understand. I don't know the answer to this, James. I wish they stopped doing it. It gets on my nerves. He said he's still lurking, so definitely need to get in here and do the necessary. And that is send us the email if you didn't know already. And where is my graphic for that? I don't know. Why is my graphic missing? There it is. Business at the War Report. Send that email with your address and we will get that out in the mail to you as quickly as we can. We appreciate you for being here. Sponsored by War Eagle Oil. War Eagle Oil is your place for all your motor oil and related products. A couple more chats here. Otis Smith says Puckett 100% needs to be playing outside linebacker.
I mean,
I've always thought that Puckett was probably going. I thought he was going to play more star this year than he did.
That's what I thought he would play more of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But listen, I can't fault the guys that we have at star. And again, if the backup safeties are not as adept at understanding where they need to be, then I want Puckett to stay right where he is.
Yeah, because that's there you go. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let's get into it, guys. Grades, offense. Who wants to start? Nobody wants to start. Nobody wants to give their offensive grade.
Wait, well, C minus.
C
I'm going
minus
C minus
offense
because the run game has been a revelation. The run game has been a revelation. It has just as much as the defense has allowed us to stay in these games. The run game has allowed us to stay in these games. Outside of Cal, where the run game was making mistakes, turning the ball over, it has maintained production through 2 SEC games against some talented defensive fronts, and it's the reason we've been able to stay in these games. We've been able to move the ball down the field, win time of possession in both of our SEC matchups. We are winning time of possession, which means we are maintaining the ball, which means the only failure is the passing game, not being able to actually get us into the end zone or get some big chunk plays. It feels egregious how much the offense is letting us down, but it's not the entirety of the offense. It's very specifically the passing game. So I'm going to say a C minus because when's the last time we scored 20 points against Georgia? 2017, right? So I'm going to say C minus.
Okay.
And I guess I'm going to stick with that. Yeah, C minus.
All right. Mike, thoughts on the offense? What's your grade, sir? You're on mute right now, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was like, let me pull up one stat here before I give a grade. I've been stewing on this one.
I'll go ahead and do. I'll let you.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do mine. I'm going to give the offense a C, a solid C.
Okay. Average.
And it is mostly because what you said, we are leading. Well, we're number 2, I think, now officially in the SEC in yards per game. We're almost averaging 5 yards per carry.
And total yards per game?
On the ground.
Oh, on the ground.
On the ground.
Rushing
Okay.
yards.
Yeah.
In rushing yards per game, we're almost averaging 5 yards per carry, even if you take out the quarterback rushing statistics. But if you add them in, we are right at 5 yards per carry. The pass offense has been, I don't even know a good word to use for it. Uninspired, particularly in the Power 5. I mean, we've looked good in the other 2 games that were FCS opponents or non-P5 opponents.
Right.
Just hasn't been good. It hasn't been good, and so that drags the score down for us a bit there. But it's been average. I think that it could definitely be better. It could definitely be worse, though. As bad as it feels like it's been, it could definitely be worse because our run offense has been so good for us so far this season. I'm going to have to give it a C. C.
All right, Mike, come on.
I'm going to go C minus.
Okay. Not as bad as I thought you were going to go.
Yeah, I'm going to go C minus because you can't give them anything lower than that and say they're doing anything positive at all. And they are doing some positive things. So, but 13th in the conference in total yards.
Woof.
sucks.
In the conference with 14 teams, I would say that's pretty bad.
Right. 10th in the conference in points per game, which is inflated by a couple of cupcakes,
Right.
by the way. So, like, if we took out Power 5 teams, that thing, I mean, we'd be scoring like 13, 14 points a game. It would not be good.
14, 10, and 20. What's the average? Yeah, it
Yeah,
would, yeah.
it would be good. Thank you for the math there, B. And then obviously passing. I still don't know. Zach over on Locked On asked me this question, guys, and he asked me, do you think that they can fix the problems offensively during the bye week? And I said yes. And then he asked, well, how close are they to fixing it? And I was like, I'm not sure. So clarification was asked, well, how can you think they can fix it but not be sure? And I'm like, I see problems that can be fixed. I don't know how close this coaching staff is to fixing them, though. So, Hugh Freeze, the issue of the quarterback is front and center.
Mm-hmm.
They went out, they got Peyton Thorne, they named him the starter before the end of fall camp. The coach very honestly came out and said he's pressing, and I thought if I just named him the starter, he'd stop pressing. It tells me that they expected him to come in and take the job by the horns. And through 5 games, he has not done that. They seem to be regressing in terms of what they trust him with, which is limiting the offensive scheme to some extent. He does not throw it in the red zone a ton. I still don't know what this team is offensively. They can run the ball, but a lot of those numbers, Peyton Thorne is the leading rusher. Guys, if that can't continue, that's not good. If Peyton Thorne is going to be the leading rusher, Auburn could lose 5 out of the next 6. That can't happen. You got to get the running backs more involved in the running game. And, you've got to call a game plan that makes sense for what you brought Peyton Thorne in for. I want to see his arm. I want to see him throw the ball. I want to see him throw the ball at a rate where he actually has a chance to get settled into the game throwing the ball. I don't feel like they've given him that chance. Ike, you've done the film review. Stop me anytime during this diatribe when I say something that's off base based on the film. But 7 passes in the first half against Georgia. And while I'm watching it, I tweeted it out. I was like, they're going to have to figure out a way to get more. They're going to need the passing game at the end of this game because it's going to be tight. Georgia's going to come back, which happened quickly after I tweeted that. And this game was always going to necessitate Auburn needing some sort of drive at the end of the game to either seal it or come back or something. And you weren't going to do that running the ball. You were going to have to do it passing. The faith that I had that they were going to be able to do that was so low. And it looked disjointed, and it was tough, man. But I see fixable issues. I see balls that receivers can start to catch. I see opportunities that the quarterback can start to find. I see play calling adjustments that the coaching staff can start to learn. So this grade is not only on the players, but it's on the coaches on offense. Because it's not as if they can't do anything. They've got talent, man. I still believe in this team, whether it's Peyton Thorne or Robbie Ashford in there. I believe that the ability is there. Whether they can harness and manifest it soon is what's up in the air. Now, what did I say about the defense? Ron Roberts' scheme has consistently put guys in a position to make plays.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that's what's happening offensively. Not consistently. There have been opportunities, certainly. But pulling Robbie out of the game on that 3rd and 1, like that didn't make any sense. There were so many things there. You had them on their heels, and then you gave them time. It wasn't as much about Robbie as it was you giving them time to sub and counter. You got the running quarterback in the game, man. Just run it. Pick up the first down and pull them out after. then open up your offense. That's tough, man. So whether it's an errant throw or a bad or wrong route that's being run, I don't know how you would give this offense anything more than a C at this point. And the similarly to, we talked about the tackling, and the tackling on defense kind of kept you guys from giving them an A. So there's usually one part of it that pulls all the good parts down. For me, the rushing offense is not enough to pull up the other areas of this offense that I feel like are not up to snuff just yet. So it'll be interesting to see how they change the scheme. It's funny how much better players look, guys, when you scheme up a perfect play. And then they have a chance to execute something that puts a guy wide open. And they can start to do more routine things to help get them in the flow of the game, rather than not doing them at all and then asking them to just pull it out of their butt at the end of the game. I don't like it. So, there's my negative Nancy one for this. these things. Yeah. You guys can chime in here. I hope I'm not saying anything that's off base. It just hasn't. It is below where I thought it would be. Never in my mind did I think Payton Thorne would win the starting job at Auburn and then be on pace to throw for fewer yards than Robbie Ashford did in 9 starts last year. Yeah. That's what's happening. Now, I'm not, again, if you're listening to this, I'm not putting that all on Payton. The opportunities are just not there. How many pass attempts did he have versus Samford? Because I think that's the one that he threw the ball the most in. Versus Samford, Payton Thorne had 32 attempts. I think that's his most attempts on the season.
I think so. I double check.
Robbie threw the ball 38 times against LSU last year for over 300 yards. They knew that they had to move the ball somewhat through the air to win games. But if you go back and you look at the Power 5 games, his attempts have been pretty limited.
Yeah.
That's a little concerning to me, right? Like he had only 14 attempts versus Cal. That's it. Right? Versus Texas A&M, he had 12 attempts. And then Georgia, I think he had 19. That's not a ton of opportunities. So that's part of why his yards are lacking.
For sure. Yeah, his attempts are way down from what he was doing at Mississippi State.
14 and 12. Like, dude, that's how they were managing Stetson Bennett in year one in that first championship run. He had games with only 12 attempts.
Yeah.
So but they had the best defense in the history of college football that year, backing them up and consistently getting them the ball back. I just wonder if is there any point where they will truly open up this offense with Payton Thorne's arm and give us a chance to see whether he can actually get the job done with his arm or not, because I don't think he's been given the opportunity fully yet.
No, listen, the pass game hasn't shown, the coaches, I should say, have not shown any confidence in the pass game, whether that's confidence in the quarterback, confidence in the wide receivers, confidence in the blocking of the offensive line. There has not been a lot of confidence in our ability to throw the football thus far this season.
Zach mentioned this, right? He's the only SEC QB without a single throw. He's going to throw the ball away one time so far this year.
I posted a video with all his throws this year. That's actually, I didn't think about that. I'm sitting here rethinking all of the cut-ups that I have. He absolutely has not thrown the ball away a single time.
I don't know what you make of that stat. I just thought it was interesting, right? Because his completion percentage is still well over 60%, at least for now. I think it's like 62, 63. But yeah, he hasn't thrown the ball away one time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the sign of somebody who's pressing, Ike?
It's a sign of somebody who's holding on to the ball too long and not being decisive, is in my opinion. But all right, okay. So let's do the unenviable thing before we get out of here.
All right.
Who is your offensive MVP so far this season through the bye week? This one's tough.
This is a hard one.
I'll tell you who mine is, and maybe it'll be
Okay.
easier for you guys.
Okay.
I think Brian Battie has been a breath of fresh air for this offense so far this season. I think he's produced every single time he's touched the football. Brian Battie is going to be my offensive MVP so far.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
Oh, I see a Cam Stutz in there. That's a good one too. Cam Stutz has played really good on the offensive line.
Yeah, I say Battie. Battie. This we saw what he was able to do against in both Power 5 games. He finds room when I thought that running between the tackles might be harder for a guy that's only 170, but man, he does it. He finds that room. He gets those 4, 5, 6 yards, and yeah, he's been consistent. So,
of the guys with enough snaps to qualify, Battie is the highest graded PFF player Auburn has on offense.
Mm-hmm.
He is the highest graded. So yeah, that's just a little fun food for thought there. In terms of, yards here, right? Like Jarquez has got 202 rushing yards on the season with a couple touchdowns.
Jarquez is the leading rusher for the team, which is crazy considering he has.
No, he's not.
Who is? I mean, excuse me, leading running back rusher.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, Peyton Thorne leads with 262 rushing yards.
Yeah.
But yeah, he missed the game.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yep. And then, from the receiver room, Jay Fair leads all receivers with 196 total yards.
Fairweather was my second choice there because I just feel like he's come up with the clutch catches in that Cal game, but Battie is my guy.
It's close for me between Battie and Jay Fair.
Jay Fair has played well this season. I think he's lived up to, I guess the next question is who is the guy who has met all of your expectations for the season so far? I don't think that you could say more about Jay Fair that hasn't been glowing, but I think he's matched every expectation I've had for the season, just hasn't had enough opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, he's had more than anybody else on the team, but there are not a ton in total. I'm gonna go with Jay Fair on this one. I mean, he has scored a few touchdowns. He's caught most of the catchable balls that have been thrown at him. In a wide receiver core where, I mean, he's just a dependable guy that will go out and make a play for you. And like I said, it's really close between him and Battie for me, but I'm gonna go with Jay. And I know, obviously, everyone thinks I have Jay bias. I 100% do. But I think he's lived up to it. I think he's earned it. I think he's earned it
as well. Biggest surprise on offense so far this season for you? A guy who you didn't see doing what he's doing, but he's doing it. Biggest surprise.
That's tough. There's been so few guys doing something great that we didn't already think were great. We knew the run game was going to be good. I mean, I thought we answered that we didn't think was going to be doing. That was the biggest surprise was Battie.
No, I just said MVP. I didn't say biggest surprise.
Oh, it's Battie then. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I thought he would be good. I thought he'd be like the third running back actually getting handoffs and in the kicking game. But no, he's catching passes. He's basically the second running back on the field for us. And he's kicking the ball off, running back kickoffs. And had a couple of really good kickoff returns as well. So, yeah, Battie.
I go with Battie.
I'm going to go with Cam Stutz on this one. I didn't expect it in the preseason for Cam Stutz to be one of the better offensive linemen for us, and he has looked really good on that offensive line. His leadership has been really good. I'm going to go with Cam Stutz for that one. All right. This is the one. This is the last one we're going to do. Who has been the most underwhelming? The guy who has not met the expectations that you had in the preseason. Does anybody want to jump out there first?
Yeah, it's Peyton Thorne for me. I expected way more out of him for a guy with 2 years starting at this level. He brought in a ton of experience. I thought it would translate. I thought we would see I thought it would raise the floor for where this passing game would be. The floor is lower. At every statistical metric, the floor is lower.
Except for completion percentage, because it's actually not lower there.
Yeah, sure.
But yes, everywhere else is lower. Yeah. I'm kind of back and forth between. There has been, Mike made mention of it. They don't trust Peyton Thorne to throw the ball, and that's evidenced by how few passes are called. I don't think that's entirely on Peyton Thorne, though. I think some of that is definitely the wide receivers. And again,
yeah,
we can take Hugh Freeze at his word. He has been complaining about them boys since the start of fall camp. He has been unhappy with the wide receivers since the first day that we came together. He was like, man, I don't like it. We got to get better. So, I mean, he's got it.
They too short.
He's saying complaining about a lot of stuff with the wide receivers. I think that the wide receivers are at least a good part of why the passing game isn't good. It's not entirely. It's never going to be entirely on one person. Well, maybe in some game, in some sport.
Yeah, unless you play from Nebraska, then it's entirely on.
Oh no, it's all his fault. We're awful. But in this case, I really do see it as it's really multifaceted, man. Like we've had some. Last game, you saw the wide receivers look more like the issue than they have looked even the games prior to that. But we heard from Hugh Freeze, man, guys were running wrong routes and weren't running deep enough. We've seen very poor blocking from wide receivers and tight ends, which that's got to be part of this as well because they're part of the passing game. It all comes together to look like, well, the quarterback can't really get the job done, but man, I think it's all of them. Can I say, oh, well, it sounds so down on our dudes, man. There are some guys who I haven't seen a lot of that I want to see more of. And I wonder if they would make a difference. But I also don't know if they are our highest ceiling players at any position. I want to see more Michael Riley-Ducker. Why? Because the wide receiver, the tight ends who have played have not blocked great. I don't think blocking is going to be an issue for Michael Riley-Ducker. So, like, if I were running the ship hypothetically here, and I never would be because I would never be a football coach because I'm not that dedicated to football. This is of course this is us talking about this. I would put every guy on the field who I could count on the most. So if I could count on you to run the right route, it doesn't matter that you're not our most outstanding pass catcher. Get on the field. If I could count on you to hold this block more than I can the other guys who are playing in front of you, get on the field because you're going to hold this block. If I can count on you to, if it's the quarterback position, and I'll say, look, I'm going to call these running plays because I think you can execute it. And when I call this pass play, you better hit it. If I have more confidence in you to be able to do that, or to spot this cornerback right here coming for this blitz, whoever I think can identify that cornerback first, that's what I'm putting in the game. Consistency. We haven't seen it, and I know Ike said this in the spring. He said Hugh Freeze has a type. Hugh Freeze is willing to ride with his type and give them time to grow up. Man, buddy, maybe it was the current NFL wide receiver and the soon-to-be NFL wide receiver that Hendon Hooker was throwing to that made all the difference for him. I don't know. Could it be that simple? Maybe. Outstanding talent can make up for a lot. It can cover deficiencies. It's really hard for me to say that just Peyton Thorne is the worst part of this thing because I don't know, man. I really think it's a full-scale failure. Blocking, route running, pass catching, the cerebral part of the quarterback game, identification, making the adjustment, accuracy. All of them. That's my answer. All units.
Everybody's been disappointing.
You know what? I'm really pleased with the offensive line, though. I know it seems like we haven't pass blocked very well, but I also think that it's really easy to get the best of an offense and a quarterback when we don't even really want to pass the ball. We're not good at it and we don't want to do it. That's the easiest time to rush. Y'all ever see like a rookie quarterback in the NFL and they come up against a really good defensive coordinator and they just get like skunked? Like it's always really interesting to see when that happens. I imagine the best defensive coordinators are going, oh, we seeing them. Man, I'm finna ruin this dude's whole year because I know you can't handle this. And with as inconsistent as we've looked passing the ball, I imagine the best pass rushers in this league are going, oh, I can't wait until we get to Auburn. I'm finna stat pad like a mug. Yeah. The offensive line, I think they've been good. I don't think you find the room on the ground for the running backs unless your offensive line is at least good. They compared to last year, tons better. So I'm pleased with them. But if I'm gonna disappointment, I'm splitting it between the wide receivers and the quarterback. Both. That's my answer. BOAF. Both.
Both.
I think the guy that has been most disappointing for me, and it's going to be a surprise to everybody, is Shane Hooks, man.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Listen, and not that I thought that Shane Hooks was going to be I wasn't on the Shane Hooks train like everybody else about him being the leading receiver for this team this year, and he's going to be out here, but I thought he was more sure-handed than he's shown himself to be. I thought he was more of a dynamic playmaker than he's shown himself to be. In the instances where he could have come up really big for this team, he hasn't. And I thought, listen, man, you put him one-on-one, that's going to be lunch. And he just hasn't been there for him, man. And, I've been disappointed in that so far. So he has underperformed expectations for me. Again, that's not to say that other people haven't underperformed. Honestly, despite the fact that he missed the one game, Jarquez Hunter has underperformed expectations for me so far this season. He hasn't really been seeing the field the way that I thought he was going to be in this next year. But yeah, for me, I think it's going to be Shane Hooks has been the one who's underperformed the most. Again, not to say that anybody's bad. I didn't say any player was bad. I just don't think that the expectation or the productivity has matched the expectation for me in that regard. And he hasn't had a lot of opportunities, right? We haven't thrown the ball a lot, but still, I'm going to have to go with Shane Hooks as far as one who's been the most underperformed to the expectation so far.
Mm-hmm.
All right, couple of chats before we get out of here. Great conversation tonight. I appreciate everybody for jumping in here. Jazzy Joe says, Mike G, I see pride, I see power, I see a bad mother who don't took no crap from nobody. A Cool Runnings reference right there from Jazzy Joe. I don't even remember what Mike was talking about at the time to give this reference, but that is a good one there from Jazzy. James Barnett, the super set, says, I know you guys can hold your own, but I'm sick of people twisting y'all's words. My question is, why are those same people still listening?
That's a great question.
Listen, I don't mind them listening, honestly. Listen all you want.
Let them listen. Yeah, let them listen. The thing is, James, there's nobody who does this that doesn't have somebody somewhere twisting their words.
Yeah.
I've been on Twitter enough to see, no matter how well you write something, and the thing is we do daily content. So when we say things, if you don't listen to us regularly,
right,
you don't know the entire context of some of the things we say because there are themes and things that we talk about. Right. So yeah, it's just something that I've accepted. I don't even get upset about it anymore. It's just
here case in point. In this very chat tonight, we've had people say we defend Peyton Thorne too much, and people say that we bag on Peyton Thorne too much and we cape for Robbie. In the same chat, hearing the same conversation tonight, there are people who have those. Right. So it doesn't really matter what we say. And that's why I stopped trying. I really don't get mad anymore. I just have to say what I'm going to say. And I'm really going to stop giving disclaimers about the stuff that I say, because y'all are going to take what you want to say and hear what you want to hear anyway. Right. I can give all the disclaimers in the world and you're still going to think what you want to think. So I might as well just say what I want to say. Yeah. So I appreciate everybody who enjoys listening to us and thinks that we know what we're talking about. I appreciate the people who continue to listen to us who think we don't have the first clue what we're talking about. It is what it is. That's not going to stop me from saying what I want to say. And we'll be right back here saying it again the next time. Super chat here from Stephen Neely, who says, fellas, most disappointing is positional coach or coordinator.
You know what? It's really hard.
Positional coach or coordinator.
It's really hard to know that because we don't know how much of we're talking about the wide receivers.
Yeah, wide receivers.
We're talking about. Well, no, that's not my answer. I'm saying
most disappointing positional coach is Marcus Davis.
I don't know how much of anything.
I was about to say, yeah.
I don't know how much of anything they've gotten. Like, have you tried to, if you're Hugh Freeze and you hired a guy to coach a position, we know he has high standards for the wide receivers. Okay. But did you get the guys that you thought could play, or did you just get the guys that you could get? So at some point, and I want us to answer this question, maybe this is another show, guys who we get to play here, it is not every coach's responsibility to turn them into all-American players. That's not possible. I think we're discounting that some players are special and some players will be productive because they're special players. They outwork other players. Sometimes the guys you get aren't the greatest players. Now, we don't have to bag on those guys. We don't have to demean them and talk down on them. But we also have to recognize we don't know if we got, number one, what the coaches wanted. Number two, what the positional coach can work with. We don't have an idea of that. Only Hugh Freeze and Marcus Davis know if they have the right players in their position rooms. I would think it's more a determining factor to say a coach is a bad coach if we know he's got the guys and the group underperforms. Like if I give you Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson and somehow we end up like 8th in pressure in the SEC, you're a bum. You need to get out of here. In this case, I have no idea what the collection of talent in these rooms are. I don't even know if it was the preferred collection of talent. I just know these are the guys we got. I think they're better than what they've shown. But to say Marcus Davis, that's why it's like, is he a bad coach or do we not have
the right
bad? Nobody said bad. It just said
right. That's what I mean. Most disappointing, and that's why I can't say Marcus Davis. I don't know what we've got. I really don't know what we've got at wide receiver. Have we been asking?
Who is your answer? You trying to explain to me what your answer ain't?
Everybody's played better, man. Josh Alge's group has played better. I think the defensive line has played better than I expected. Secondary's played crazy. Huh. Who's the quarterback coach?
It's Phil Montgomery,
Kent Austin, right?
Okay.
There we go. That's easy. That's easy.
It's probably a combination of Phil
But you could apply that same logic that you applied to the
of course, but in this case, I've seen this quarterback actually play better than he's playing right now.
Yeah, I'm going to go Philip Montgomery as the coordinator has been the most disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, we all knew it was going to be something on offense, right? Like, I think that they have time. Coaches can improve the same way players can, right? And so I expect what I would look to see is for adjustments moving forward and see how they adjust. And, hopefully the answer to this question at the end of the season is nobody.
Hopefully so. We'll see.
Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is fixable. To tell you the truth,
I mean everything is fixable, but the question is, do they have the tools to be able to fix it? We'll see. Jazzy Joe says Duke called it before the season that Hooks doesn't put in the effort to high point the ball.
Ike actually reviewed some Shane Hooks film before the season as well, and he noted that effort was a concern.
Yeah,
it's inconsistent effort. I think sometimes he looks like he's doing great, sometimes he doesn't. I think what's disappointed me though is like the stuff like the throw to that Robbie made in the Texas A&M game that could have been a touchdown. Right. Like those are the type of plays I expect Shane Hooks to make that.
Right.
Yeah. Go up and make that catch.
Yeah, because he's got all the talent to do those types of plays. I just haven't seen him. The interception that Peyton Thorne had in the Cal game, right, where it looks like an overthrow. Shane Hooks cuts his route off about 2 yards short on that one, right? Those are the types of plays where it's like, man, that's a regular football play, bro. Run the route to the correct depth, jump up and make a catch. Like, you can't be that guy for this team, and that to me has been a little disappointing. Timothy Monk says y'all do both. As far as protect Peyton Thorne and bash Peyton Thorne and protect Robbie Ashford and bash Robbie Ashford.
It's almost like we talk about the good and the bad
of every player. I mean, it's a crazy concept to think of that we actually just tell you what we think about players without having to protect or overhype any of them. You know, unless their name is, of course, Jay Fair, which Mike, I don't think overhypes, but definitely hypes. Otis, and listen,
that's because he's perfect, man. He doesn't do anything wrong.
Otis Smith says these are Chinese spies, and you can't tell me different. I am with you right there on that one. All right, man, we got to get out of here. We are over our time. Mike G, take us out of here. Tell the people what they need to be doing with their lives real quick.
Hey, listen, become a patron, micro sponsorship of the War Report. We appreciate everybody who does this. You can also give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button and giving the gift to somebody else who has not made a decision to become a sponsor, a patron. Also want to shout out the War Report Podcast Network. We're putting out lots of great content here that you can only get in audio-only format. I send a special thanks to the guys at Uptempo and College Loop. Also, check out the Just a Sec podcast. We got some great stuff going on over there. My guy Paul Mahari over there in Georgia land, constantly talking nonsense with Ike on the Just a Sec. We love Paul. Other sponsors I want to shout out: the Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. Use code Rapport to get a discount on your order, and Manscaped. Show sponsor Manscaped. Use code Rapport to get your discount there as well. Listen, it may be spooky season, but you don't have to scare people with a scraggly beard. Give Manscaped a shot, especially the Handyman trimmer. It is a great trimmer. We use all these products that we push, by the way. We use all these products. Manscaped has been a great sponsor. So, help us out by going there. If you want to give a gift, holiday season is coming, guys. If you want to give a gift to the man in your life, Manscaped has a bunch of products that will definitely be helpful to him in his pursuits of stuff.
Make sure you guys, before you get out of here, share the video at the War Report on all social media. Hashtag get your weight up. Like the video before you close out, and we appreciate everybody who's already done that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are at the War Report on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TW Report on TikTok. Shout out before we get out of here to Stephen Neely for gifting memberships, as well as Drake Barefoot. Also, Drake, thank you again for the thing that's sitting here right behind me, this wooden thing. Appreciate that very much. Jazzy Joe gifting memberships today. You guys are awesome. We are out of here. We'll be back with the morning drop on Friday morning. Until the next time, and as always, War Eagle, we're out of here. Peace.
Peace.